Your $300 jacket has a fatal flaw that Neanderthals solved 40,000 years ago. Last winter, a hiker wearing top-tier expedition gear froze to death in conditions that our ancient relatives survived wearing animal skins and Stone Age tools. The temperature was minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. His jacket was rated to minus 40. So what went wrong? Between 44,000 and 40,000 years ago, Europe went through a climate nightmare that makes modern winters look pleasant. Average temperatures dropped below freezing year-round. Permafrost covered the landscape. The air was so cold and dry that simply breathing felt like inhaling glass. And yet, Neanderthals thrived. They hunted, raised families, and built communities in conditions that would kill a modern human in hours without the right gear. Here's what makes this interesting. We've never found a single piece of Neanderthal clothing. Not one fragment of leather, not one scrap of fur. Everything rotted away tens of thousands of years ago. But we know they wore sophisticated layering systems because their skeletons tell us something remarkable. There's almost no evidence of frostbite. Their fingers and toes survived intact. That means they had effective hand and foot protection in temperatures that regularly hit minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Your modern jacket can't make that claim. Stand outside in minus 20 for 6 hours and see what happens. Your extremities go numb first, then the shivering starts. Within 3 hours, even with your expensive gear, you're in serious trouble. Neanderthals spent entire days hunting in those conditions. The difference isn't insulation thickness. It's not about having more layers. The gap between their system and yours comes down to one thing that modern manufacturers either don't understand or choose to ignore. Moisture. When you move in your high-tech jacket, you sweat. That moisture has nowhere to go. Modern waterproof membranes trap it against your skin. Water conducts heat 25 times faster than air. So that thin layer of sweat inside your jacket is actively pulling warmth out of your body. You paid $300 for a device that's slowly freezing you from the inside out. Neanderthals understood something about physics that we've forgotten. They processed animal hides using tools called lissoirs, smoothers made from deer ribs with polished tips. When you rub these tools against raw hide, something chemical happens. The leather becomes softer, more flexible, and critically, more water-resistant. Not waterproof, water-resistant. That distinction matters more than you think. Archaeological sites show residue on these tools containing acid from oak bark. They were chemically tanning hides 50,000 years before we developed modern chemistry. But here's what's fascinating. They weren't trying to block water completely. They were managing it. A caribou hide with fur attached works differently than your synthetic shell. The outer guard hairs repel moisture while allowing vapor to escape. Underneath, dense underfur traps air in millions of tiny pockets. Caribou hair is hollow. Air gets trapped not just between the hairs but inside them. It's a dual-layer insulation system that modern materials can't replicate. Polar bears use the same principle. With just a couple inches of fur, they maintain a body temperature of 98.6 degrees when outside temperatures hit minus 40. Researchers studying this kept asking the same question. Why can't we build insulation this efficient? The answer is that we're solving the wrong problem. Modern jackets are designed for waterproofing first, insulation second, and moisture management dead last. That priority order is backwards. In 1995, researchers ran a brutal test. They took 100 subjects and dressed half in traditional Inuit caribou clothing, half in military and expedition snowsuits. Then they put everyone in a cold room at minus 28 degrees Celsius with 20-mile-per-hour winds. They measured heat loss every 5 minutes. The results weren't even close. The caribou clothing outperformed military gear on almost every metric. Face, chest, thighs, toes. Heat loss was significantly faster in the modern equipment. These weren't primitive garments, they were engineered systems that worked with human physiology instead of against it. The Inuit design uses a two-layer approach. The inner layer has fur facing inward, trapping warm air directly against skin. The outer layer has fur facing outward, creating additional insulating pockets that shield against wind and cold. Between these layers, air circulates just enough to carry moisture away from the body without allowing heat to escape. Your jacket has no equivalent system. The waterproof membrane that keeps rain out also keeps sweat in. When that sweat saturates your base layers, you've created a thermal conductor wrapped around your core. You're wearing a heat sink. Neanderthals never had this problem, not because they were tougher or more adapted to cold. Their skeletons show they were built similarly to us. Same metabolic rates, same thermal needs. They survived because their clothing actually worked. But there's something else happening in those hide layers that modern gear completely misses. Something about how natural materials respond to temperature changes. And it's this missing piece that explains why your expensive jacket fails exactly when you need it most. Natural materials respond to temperature gradients in ways that synthetics can't match. When temperatures drop, animal hide actually changes its thermal properties. The protein structure in leather contracts slightly, pulling fibers closer together. This creates additional insulating dead air space exactly when you need it most. As temperatures rise, those same fibers relax, opening pathways for moisture to escape. It's a passive regulation system that requires zero energy input. Your Gore-Tex doesn't do this. The membrane stays static regardless of conditions. It either breathes or it doesn't, and the rate never adjusts to what your body needs in that moment. Here's what happens when you're active in modern gear. You start hiking, your body generates heat, sweat begins, the moisture hits your base layer, then your mid layer, and finally reaches that waterproof shell. The membrane is designed to let vapor through, but only under specific conditions. The vapor needs a pressure differential to pass through those microscopic pores. If humidity is high outside, or if you're sweating faster than the membrane can vent, moisture accumulates. Within 30 minutes, your layers are damp. Damp fabric conducts heat 25 times faster than dry fabric. You've turned your insulation into a refrigeration system. Neanderthals faced the same problem but solved it differently. They didn't try to create a perfect barrier. They built a system that managed moisture through layering and material selection. Archaeological evidence shows they used different hides for different purposes. The bulk of garments came from caribou, naturally water-resistant and breathable. But for areas requiring extra protection, they used tougher materials. Wolf and fox fur for ruffs around the face and hood. These long guard hairs shed snow and ice while allowing vapor to escape. Marine mammal skins for pants, chosen specifically because they let sweat evaporate while resisting external moisture. Each material was selected for its specific properties, not just thrown together randomly. The stitching mattered too. They used sinew, the dried tendon from animals. When sinew gets wet, it swells. This expansion fills the needle holes completely, creating a water-resistant seam without any tape or glue. Modern jackets use thread that doesn't swell, so manufacturers have to add seam tape. That tape eventually delaminates, usually right when you're 3 days into a backcountry trip with no way to fix it. But the real genius was in the air gap management. Traditional hide clothing creates what researchers call a microclimate zone. That's the space between your body and the first layer of material. In Inuit caribou parkas, this zone measures about ½ an inch. Warm air from your body fills this space, creating a buffer against the cold. The inner fur layer, facing your skin, prevents this warm air from escaping while wicking away moisture. The outer layer, with fur facing outward, creates a second barrier that wine can't penetrate. Between these two layers, air can circulate just enough to carry vapor away from your core without allowing cold air to reach your skin. Your synthetic jacket has no equivalent. Most modern designs try to eliminate air gaps entirely, pressing insulation tight against your body. This works great when you're standing still. The moment you move, you generate moisture with nowhere to go. Even high-end expedition gear suffers from this. Climbers on Everest deal with it constantly. They'll summit wearing multiple synthetic layers and return to base camp with everything soaked from the inside out. It's not a gear failure in the traditional sense. It's a design philosophy that prioritized lab testing over real-world performance. Temperature ratings make this worse. A jacket rated to -20 doesn't account for activity level, humidity, or wind. Those numbers come from static tests using heated mannequins in controlled environments. They tell you nothing about how the jacket performs when you're actually moving, sweating, and dealing with variable conditions. The Inuit never needed ratings. They tested their gear by surviving winters that would kill most modern humans equipped with the latest technology. If the design failed, the person wearing it didn't make it. Natural selection applied to clothing design. There's something else happening in hide systems that modern materials completely miss. It's about thermal mass. Leather and fur have significant mass compared to synthetic shells. This mass absorbs heat when you're warm and releases it when you cool down. It acts as a buffer, preventing rapid temperature swings. When you stop moving after hard exertion, your body temperature doesn't crash immediately. The thermal mass in your hide clothing releases stored heat gradually, giving your metabolism time to adjust. Synthetic shells have almost no mass. They respond instantly to temperature changes. Stop moving, and within minutes you're cold. Start moving again, and you overheat just as fast. This is why layering systems in modern gear require constant adjustment. You're always adding or removing pieces, trying to maintain a comfortable temperature. Traditional hide clothing needed far less fiddling. The materials regulated themselves through their physical properties. Less time managing your gear means more energy for survival tasks. When you're trying to build shelter in a blizzard, that difference matters. The moisture management problem gets worse in extreme cold. Below -20, breathable membranes stop working effectively. The humidity differential needed to drive vapor through the pores doesn't exist anymore. Outside air is so dry it can't accept more moisture. Meanwhile, you're still sweating inside your jacket. That moisture has nowhere to go. It condenses on the inside of your shell and freezes. You're now wearing a layer of ice. This is when modern expedition climbers switch to vapor barrier liners, basically non-breathable bags that trap all moisture against your skin. It sounds counterintuitive, but it prevents the moisture from reaching your insulation and turning to ice. Neanderthals never needed vapor barriers. Their hide systems managed moisture before it became ice. The hide itself handled vapor through its structure. Leather isn't truly waterproof. At the microscopic level, it's a network of protein fibers with tiny gaps between them. These gaps are too small for liquid water to pass through, but water vapor molecules can slip between the fibers and escape to the outside. It's selective permeability built into the material itself. No membrane required. Modern materials either block everything or let everything through. They can't discriminate between liquid and vapor at the molecular level without adding synthetic membranes that eventually fail. Here's what really separates hide from synthetics. Durability under abuse. A caribou parka can take a beating that would destroy any modern jacket in days. You can drag it through brush, sit on ice, get it soaked and frozen repeatedly. The hide gets tougher with use. Oils from your skin work into the leather, making it more supple and water-resistant over time. Try that with Gore-Tex. The membrane delaminates, the DWR coating washes off, seams start leaking. Within 2 seasons of hard use, your $800 jacket performs worse than when you bought it. Traditional hide clothing improved with age. Inuit families passed garments down through generations. A well-made parka could serve 3 or 4 people over decades. The leather would eventually wear thin in high-friction areas, but you could patch it with fresh hide and keep using it. Nothing was disposable. Everything was repairable. Compare that to modern gear designed for planned obsolescence. You can't repair delaminated membranes. You can't restore destroyed insulation. When it fails, you replace it. Cost is another factor nobody talks about honestly. Yes, a custom hide garment is expensive up front, but divide that cost over 20 years of use, and it's cheaper than replacing synthetic jackets every few seasons. The Inuit study proved this accidentally. The caribou outfits tested in 1995 were still functional decades later. The military gear from the same test is now landfill. We've convinced ourselves that cheap disposable gear is economical. It's not. It's just recurring expense disguised as savings. So what can you actually do with this information? Most people can't commission custom hide clothing, but you can steal principles that work. First, understand that moisture management beats insulation. A thin layer that moves vapor away from your skin will keep you warmer than thick insulation that traps sweat. Wool does this better than any synthetic. It absorbs moisture into the fiber itself, keeping it away from your skin while staying warm even when damp. Not as effective as hide, but significantly better than polyester fleece. Second, accept that you'll need more layers than you think. The Inuit used 5 layers on their feet alone. Modern marketing pushes single-layer solutions that don't exist in nature. Build your own system with multiple thin layers instead of one thick jacket. This gives you flexibility to adjust as conditions change and creates multiple air gaps for insulation. Third, prioritize wind protection over waterproofing. A simple, tightly woven cotton shell blocks wind better than most technical fabrics and breathes well enough for high exertion. It won't keep you dry in a downpour, but in cold, dry conditions, wind protection matters more than waterproofing. Neanderthals lived through Ice Age winters without waterproof membranes. Wind was their main enemy. Fourth, rethink the idea that lighter is better. Thermal mass matters. Heavier materials regulate temperature swings and reduce the constant adjustment modern layering systems require. A heavy wool coat works better than an ultralight synthetic shell for exactly this reason. The archaeological evidence keeps proving the same point. When researchers find preserved clothing from extreme environments, it's always made from hide and fur. Ötzi the Iceman, frozen in the Alps 5,000 years ago, wore layered hide clothing with grass insulation. Arctic mummies wear caribou and seal skin. Nobody survived extreme cold, long-term using plant fibers or early textiles. Hide was the only material that worked reliably. Modern outdoor companies know this. They just can't sell it to you. Hide clothing doesn't scale to mass production. You can't manufacture millions of identical caribou parkas. Each hide is different. Processing takes skilled labor. It's slow, expensive, and impossible to market with temperature ratings and lab test results. So they sell you what they can manufacture cheaply and replace frequently. The Neanderthals weren't lucky to have hide clothing. They were smart enough to recognize what worked and skilled enough to make it. We have better tools, more knowledge, and advanced materials science. Yet we're producing cold weather gear that would get them killed in a single winter. That's not progress. That's forgetting how to survive while convincing ourselves we've improved. Your synthetic jacket will fail you eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not this winter. But when conditions get truly hostile, when you're wet and cold and the temperature keeps dropping, you'll understand what those hide systems were actually doing. They weren't primitive technology. They were the solution to a problem we've forgotten how to solve. The Neanderthals figured it out 40,000 years ago. We're still catching up. The knowledge isn't lost. It's just buried under marketing that convinced you thin membranes beat thick hide. Next time you're standing in a store looking at jackets with impressive spec sheets and temperature ratings, remember this. Neanderthals survived -40 without ratings, without membranes, without any of the technology we consider essential. They had animal skins, stone tools, and an understanding of physics that we've replaced with planned obsolescence. That understanding still works. The principles haven't changed, only our willingness to use them.